Hello dear viewers, how are you doing? Today's video will be about fear itself, something with bite. I'm Andrew Lapamardo, your host, and this is Marvelous Videos. A seemingly genius but bored veterinarian clinic doctor, a man concerned out of his mind about the animal he has injured, and of course, our animal, the massive bear look-alike werewolf, makes for a very interesting watch. Something with a Bite is a never-before-seen episode of the TV series Fear itself. It's directed by Ernest R. Dickerson, another Master of Horrors veteran. Fear itself is a dramatic anthology horror and suspense series comprising of 13 made-for-television episodes. While the considerably more dramatic Masters of Horror series proved to be quite successful as a regular show and popular rental product, the networks were eager to bring some of that enchantment to primetime television. Before we review it, we must first learn a little bit about its background and history.
Michaela, please make yourself useful. Hold him down.
Fear itself can be called the unofficial third season of Masters of Horror. It is called an unofficial one because Showtime refused to fund a third season on their own. Lionsgate stepped in with a budget and a deal to broadcast the anthology series on NBC. After the first 8 episodes, the rest of the series were posted on the NBC website all at once, then on DVD, before being completely removed from the website. Something with Bite stars Wendell Pierce as the character of a lazy veterinarian, Wilbur Orwell, who is good with animals, but whose home life isn't all it could be. We see a glimpse of his home life in the very beginning itself. Here is a somewhat submissive man with a wily wife who seems to be perpetually disappointed in him, and a son who is quite the intelligent replier. The show is not super heavy on gore, but it brings a kind of nostalgia along with a modern-day take on old werewolf classic films and stories. It is an episode that transports you back into time, when one would snuggle under the blanket after lights were out to watch horror shows and films. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
You gotta be kidding.
The Bite comes bearing gifts. Aside from The Beast Must Die, Michael Jackson's Thriller video, Kevin Grievous from the Underworld movies, and tragically, Bloods vs. Wolves. Something with Bite is one of the few depictions of black werewolves, Lupus urbanus. Skinwalkers also, I believe, had a black character, but he didn't do much. It was refreshing to see more variety in the werewolf trope or horror television. This episode's take on werewolf lore is intriguing, and Landis injects enough humor into the script to keep it from becoming too dark to handle.
Just a few feet from here, here's Detective Dean right now. Detective, do you still believe that the killings were...
We start with a person getting killed by an unknown creature with giant paws, which immediately cuts to the dripping of thick red jelly. It is a great way to imply gore while actively avoiding it. We move to Wilbur and his home life with the progression of the scene. We get introduced to clumsy and bored Wilbur and his quick-witted son, along with his beautiful wife, who is definitely the boss lady of the house. She makes him change his jelly-smeared shirt, and we then follow him to the office. This scene shows the monotony of his job and his brilliance as a vet. We see him diagnosing animals with quick accuracy despite his bored look and the lack of interest in the workings of the clinic.
He's super late. I don't think you should let him take advantage of you like this.
Everything changes when a man brings in an injured animal who had been trying to attack him. Wilbur gets bitten by the beast and faints, while the werewolf is able to leave its misery and passes away. Due to his sheer size, the man and Wilbur's assistant Michaela think it's a bear that they have encountered, but Wilbur disagrees. None of them know what the creature is when they assumed the bear comes bearing gifts, the gift of its bite. Post the bite, he starts to treat himself the way he would for any other animal bite. He bandages his hand and uses the bite kit to give himself an injection. Later that night, we see him in extreme discomfort while giving us a peek into his intimate life with his wife. He seems to be feeling more energized in the morning, but we see a shift in his pre-established routine. We can already see the effects of the werewolf bite with the heightened sense of smell. He didn't like the smell of donuts and he even greeted his son. Landis and Ernest Dickerson have cleverly set the stage for the rest of the episode, as well by using the background narration of the news anchors.
Detective, can you confirm that the same animal is doing all
Hold
these
on a
killings?
second, let me stop you right there.
He finally decides to take a look at the creature brought in yesterday and notices a bunch of anomalies. The beast not only has piercings, but it also has fillings in its teeth, which is not common in animals at all. Just then, we hear a bit of ruckus. We come face to face with the Dugdale duo, who are here to take their animal. Mr. Dugdale almost says son while mentioning Michael, but saves the slip by using the word animal. They ask Wilbur to give them the body. They claim that they want to give him a proper burial. Even though he isn't supposed to give back an animal of this size, he concedes and lets them take the body back when he realizes how much Michael means to them. Things start to speed up after this. To begin with, he goes through many of the stages that newly bitten people go through. First, there's the heightened sense of smell, which might be overwhelming at first, but can be tempered over time, and not to be so obvious about sniffing things. Then, we see that the bite has healed much more quickly than it should have. A nascent lycanthrope often benefits from a newfound sense of self-confidence, as well as a wellspring of animal ferocity. Then, there's the first full-fledged change, which can be both disconcerting and exhilarating, all at the same time. We see all these changes in Wilbur, with his newfound sense of confidence in animal-like intimacy in bed. However, we also see the buildup of the murder mystery in the background. Jeff, the repeated name of a largely absent character in the episode, dies at the hands of the same mysterious animal. Wilbur discovers this when the detective who is handling this case comes to him for guidance on the animal. Wilbur, who has already been transformed once but doesn't remember anything from the night before, feels too anxious to be able to answer the detective's questions appropriately. The switch seen in the detective is quite evident as he starts questioning Wilbur and his motives instead of looking for advice on how to find and capture the animal in question. This becomes a repeated occurrence with the interactions as the story proceeds.
With you, this creature stands on two legs. While I stand here looking at you, I wonder who those two legs...
Wilbur, at this point, realizes what he has transformed into.
A werewolf.
And goes to meet the Dugdales. He offers his condolences to them for the loss of their son. We see an understanding pass between them, and their eyes change color, indicating that they are both werewolves now. Wilbur talks to them and tries to understand more about his new life. He claims that the bite was a blessing and it saved his life. He raises his concerns about the increasing number of animal attacks. Mr. Dugdale tells him that despite not remembering details of the previous night, it can't be possible for him to be associated with the attacks. If a man is good in the human form, then they will be good as a wolf as well. Werewolves won't do anything in their wolf form that they won't do in their human form. So naturally, Wilbur asks if they have something to do with the attacks instead. Turns out, they're actually vegans. Yeah, vegan werewolves are a reality in this episode. On the other hand, Michaela, Wilbur's assistant, gets attacked by the animal. Thankfully, she isn't brutally murdered like the others. She is still badly hurt and in the hospital when the detective brought Wilbur there. While stroking her hair, he smells something. He hunts down the man on the basis of the smell. It seems that there was some leftover blood of the killer on Michaela's fingernails. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We have ruled out the possibility that the killer is Wilbur because of the way he runs after the killer, but the suspense keeps you hooked until the end. We follow him into an abandoned-looking building, where he transforms into his wolf form before meeting the killer. This is where we encounter him, the small man consisting of only flesh and bones. He is a reverent follower of the wolf god Fenris, and he has been killing people so that he can also turn into one of them. He believes that Wilbur has been sent to him to bite him. He keeps asking Wilbur to bite him, and when that doesn't happen, he apologizes for failing to kill Michaela. He says that he planned on going back to the hospital to kill her. During this process of rambling, he is continuously enraging Wilbur, but of course, our killer doesn't realize that. He continues to tell Wilbur how he killed all the others. He brings out a costume with metal metal jaws and claws. He had been using that costume to commit all the other crimes. This seems to be the tipping edge for Wilbur. He charges at the man, and, well, whoosh goes the arm. I really thought that he would control himself and call the detective instead, but I do like the killing the killer portion better.
Forrest J. Caldwell! You can't kill Forrest J. Caldwell!
After that, he walks out of the room and changes back to human. The movie ends with a very positive gathering at Wilbur's dinner table. His family life has gotten a lot better, and so has his relationship with his son. They're all at the dining table with the Dugdales and Michaela. She has scars on her face, but other than that, everything else seems to be going great. He follows Patty, his wife, to the kitchen, where he claims he wants to share everything with her. He then bites her, but we don't see it happen. I guess there will be another werewolf family on the block, and I am here for it.
He swallowed 2 AAA batteries. We're gonna have to operate.
Review. Something with Bite is heavy on humor, as you'd expect from a script written by John Landis's son. Yet, it's lighter on horror than it should be. Certainly lighter than an American Werewolf in London. Wilbur is a typical upper-middle-class person with a loving, non-hood-dwelling family, and race is never a problem. Dickerson does an excellent job with the comedy portions, as one can expect after his work on Demon Knight. Fear itself's framework does not allow for gradual and delicate world creation. Dickerson and the writers must choose between a comedy about Wilbur's transition and a genuine crime mystery, and they choose the former.
Bite me. Make me like you.
The conventional theatrical relationship between comedy and tragedy isn't as dramatically opposed as one might think. In Shakespearean criticism, there's a joke that explains the gap. A wedding is a difference between a comedy and a tragedy. It doesn't matter who is killed, who is dethroned, or what aspects of society are destroyed. If any pair ends up together in the end, it's a comedy. Even if there are dark, painful situations in a comedy, it is still a comedy. Something with a Bite is a bit of a gimmick, with the over-the-top werewolf transformation and the murder scenes full of dismemberment, which have been toned down quite a bit to fit into the TV standards of censorship. However, Something with Bite makes for a very fulfilling watch, despite everything. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
I'm Forrest J. Caldwell! You can't kill Forrest J. Caldwell!